All right, hi everyone. We're at week 4. Um, so uh, just to recap what we learned so far, week 2 we learned about characterization. Week 3 we learned a bit about how to use the control rig by keyframing a small sequence. And week 4, uh, we'll be touching a little bit on story mode. If we remember, story mode is in this section of Motionbuilder. This is where you stitch mocap different clips or different motions together to form one big sequence. So I'll be showing you a little bit steps, the basics of the story mode uh, in week 4. And what I'm asking you to do is use 3 clips from Mixamo, or if you want, use the keyframe version that you did in week 3. So I'll be doing that. I'll be mixing 2 from Mixamo and 1 from the keyframe, the jump. If you don't like what you did on the keyframe version, you could just use 3 clips from Mixamo. Okay, so either 2 plus the keyframe or 3 from Mixamo at a minimum. You can choose more than 3 if you want to challenge yourself, but at a minimum I would like you to use 3. Also, the clips, after you stitch them together, they have to flow and not like pop all over the place in the scene. They have to flow very smoothly, and they have to be baked on the control rig. So I need to be, when I look at your FBX, I need to deactivate the story and see the motion on the control rig. So I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, let's start. The delivery of the file is FBX for now. Okay. So first thing I'm gonna start off, I'm gonna keep working with week 3, which is the jump, but I'm gonna name it week 4 so I don't overwrite it. So week 4, story 1 or part 1, just for me. You could, this is optional, you could just name it week 4, your name. So what I want to do, what I have in mind is I would like to, so I have a jump. If you remember the reference we used, it was a kind of a run, jump, and then land and continue. So I want to recreate the same reference in the video that we use. So I'm going to stitch a run, then the keyframe, the jump, and I'm going to use like a land roll kind of, so it's a little bit different than the original reference. So that's what I have in mind. So I'm going to go to Mixamo and find a run, okay? And please remember, use the same character that you have in your scene to download animations. If you choose another character, they might be a different scale and you might get weird results on the animation. So always, whatever character you have in your scene, use the equivalent in Mixamo. So let's try this run, see what happens. It's kind of a strafe run, so we need something more dynamic. This is nice. It's not fast, and it's kind of a jog. So you can increase the speed here, right? If you guys remember. So you can try something a little bit faster, or just keep it the same. Actually, I want to show you how to speed it up in Motionbuilder. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so let's say you like this. I'll download this. Download FBX 30 without skin. We just need the skeleton, right? If you guys remember from week 2, the first assignment, we just download the skeleton. Okay, we delete the running and we find, let's say, roll or land roll maybe. Let's see what we find. Falling to roll. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that could work. Let's see what this one. That could work too. I'll choose this one because he's closer to the ground. And let's see what the difference is. I think they're all the same. He's just falling a bit higher. So I'll choose this one because we might get a better pose to blend with the animation that I did. So I'll just choose this one. Okay, download, same. We're done with this. So we can go to your download folder. So falling to roll and running. Okay, so I'll move those over to my D. Please remember to work on D. I can't stress this enough, especially with the PCs in the lab filling up on C. Please remember work on D. Mine is B, and you should be working on D, like David. Okay, so this is my class folder, downloads, Mixamo, animations, and I'm just gonna put it in here. And then, so this take is called Mixamo. Okay, I'm gonna need to rename this because I'm gonna be importing 2 new ones, right? So if you go in Navigator, down below into the take section, takes, open it up, and then you can rename, rename this to jump, let's say. And now you're ready to import the Mixamo stuff. Okay, so how do we do this? If you guys remember, first we switch to a new take. Create a new take by here, new. So it warns me, do you want to copy the current take? I don't want you to copy the jump because I already have it, so I click no. Make sure you switch to a T-pose because it just saves the last pose that you're at. So select one of the controls, one of the control rig, one piece. Make sure you're in full body and click on this little guy, stance pose. Okay, and it will bring you to the T-pose. Okay, go to frame 0. You can double click and put 0 here. And we need to switch, if you remember the steps, we need to switch to none first to merge the clips. Okay, we can do this like that, or okay, I'll show you. I want to try another way because this is the way we used in the first assignment. I'm gonna try another way, just super quick. Let's switch to none. If you go in story mode, and then in character add insert, character animation track, and then in here we can use the Erica character, and then we can add the running. Okay, I want to add it. I'll just bring it to 0, 0 all the way. You can also double click on here and input the number. So right now we have the running clip, but as you can see, there's nothing happening. Why? Because story mode is not active yet. So if you remember when we did the overview, we said story mode is like a layer. So anything you put in story mode will overwrite what's currently playing on that take. So we need to activate story mode before we do that. Okay, so you activate it, and then you have the motion that you downloaded from Mixamo. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So activate it so to see the motion. And then what can we do at this point? We can try to add the run, but before we do that, I want to show you a little bit of this, what you can do with this. Okay, so at this stage you have two options. You can keep it like this, or if you put the mouse near the end of the clip, you can take it and loop it. And when I say loop it, it only works in looping if you have that run FBX saved locally. Okay, this is the only way it's gonna work. But when I say looping, it actually takes the last pose and then loops it back to from the beginning, but it keeps the displacement going. Like it kind of continues the displacement of the run. So you can do this with anything. You can do this with a run, a jump. So if you want him to jump multiple times, you could save the clip and loop it over and over. So this is a really cool way if you have like a long, let's say, chase in a corridor and you want to loop the run cycle, or you have, like, say, two guys walking casually, you want to loop it forever. This is a cool way to do it. So let's say I want to loop it twice. I'll keep it, or maybe 1.5. You can cut it there. So after that, there's nothing because there's no more clips. So right now, let me save. So this is one way to do it. Okay, instead of merging like we did in week 2. It's a different way. What else can you do at this point? So I want, after the run, I want to be able to merge the jump. Okay, so the jump is in the same FBX file. So how do we insert this jump? How do we insert it here? So right now I'm on take 2. Okay, I switch to jump. Okay, so the jump is from 0 to, sorry. So when you switch to jump and story mode is on, you don't see the jump anymore because um, you don't see the jump because story mode is on and it's overriding the jump. And also another reason why you don't see it is we switched the source to none. Okay, so you need to switch back to control rig. Okay, and then the jump is back. See? So switch back to the jump take, switch back to the control rig, and then what do you do in here? We right click, okay, and you go choose this fourth option. It's called insert current take, and it exactly does what it does. It takes the jump take and inserts it in this track that we created. So this is the track animation, the character track, and this is the clips, animation clips we put on that track. Okay, so we're just inserting another clip from this take. Okay, so insert current take. So what happens, because the running clip is on the same frames, it inserts it right on top of it. That's why you see these lines. So these lines are kind of transitions. Okay, so if I switch back to that take and I switch back story mode, you will see some weird motion. So what it's doing is it's transitioning, uh, it's kind of blending both clips together, and you're getting this weird kind of blend between the run and the jump. So we don't want to actually do that. So what do? We select the one of the clips and we move it. And right now we're moving the running. We don't want to move the running because he runs and jumps. So we take the jump and we just move it in the timeline till after. Okay, you can select two of those clips and move them back to where they were. So now you got the running cycle. When I say cycle, it's because the last frame of the clip, see the last frame of the clip, the left foot is in passing, and the first frame of the clip is the same. So that's why I'm calling it a cycle, because it loops, it cycles. So we have the running and the jump now. Cool. So so let's say, so right now the clips are the jump clip is it's going back, right? It's popping backwards. So and we don't want it to pop backwards. So what do? We can either move this clip in space, or we use the matching. If you remember, I showed a little bit of the matching options. Okay, so let's look at the move clip in space first. So if I want to move this clip to match this last pose of the run, we select the clip and you need to turn on this little guy. It says show hide ghost. So if you put this on and you select translation, you will see you're able to actually move what clip you have selected here in space. Okay, be careful which one you select, because if you select this and move it, you're moving the run. Okay, so first make sure you're on the time frame wise. Your timeline should be on the clip that you select. Okay, so don't do this like select the jump clip and move it outside. Like let's say you're in the running section, but you're moving, because you're not going to see the change. Okay, so just make sure you're in the timeline of the jump. So I move my timeline, I select my clip, I turn on the ghost mode, and then I can easily move and rotate the clip. Okay, so that's how we move a clip in space. So this is manually. You can move it manually to your liking. So you can try to, like, let's say, oh, his foot is at the edge of the grid. So I'm gonna move my first frame of the jump to that. You could do that, no problem. But I'll show you another cool way of doing it. Okay. So let's say you haven't moved it yet. Oh, see, I did that mistake. I moved something and my timeline is not at the run. So let's say it's still off. Okay, so run, and he still jumps backwards, right? So there's an option called match. So you can match one of the bones to the previous clip, okay? One of the bones positions. So the way to do this, you select the clip, you click match, and the first thing you need to change is the match object. So exactly, you need to tell this the match options, or the match tool, what bone do you want to use as reference, okay? So I always choose the hips. It should be right on top. So choose the hips. What do you want to match? You can match to previous clip or next clip. So if you have another clip, you want to move this clip to match to the next one, you could do that as well. For this instance, I want to use the position of the last frame of the previous clip, okay? Match time just at the end of the previous clip, and I want to match translation. Rotation, I'm good, so I don't need it because he's still facing the same way. Let's say the run was pointing this way, you would want to then use rotation. So I only want to use match position, okay? And then I click OK. So see, it did that match option did the work for me, see? So now look at the hips. The hips was used to match the last pose of the hips, and then it moved the jump clip to match the last frame of the run. Okay, so that's the beauty of the clips and the story mode. So let's say I'm running out of space. Let's say I want to move both clips. Let's say I want him to start actually from the edge of, depending on your layout, right? So you can select both clips, make sure the move is on, and then move them backward. Make sure you go to the frame, where do you want to move it, and move them in your layout, or you can rotate them as well. Okay, so now if you check, see, all those two clips moved to the offset that you just added. Okay, so now I forgot to show you one small tip. So by default, when you grab the end of this clip and move up and down, first you're looping the clip if it's saved locally, like running. If the FBX is saved locally and you drag and drop it. There's another option that's kind of hidden in here, is by doing the same thing, by dragging this the end of the clip. Okay, so this button here, see, when you put the mouse on it, it says loop, which is the default function. It loops the animation, or actually it loops, but it trims, so you can have less frames by dragging it to by dragging it left to decrease the amount of frames in that clip. Okay, so this is the default function. If you click on it one more, see, it changes to a scale icon. So what does that scale do? It actually scales the timing. Okay, so if, for example, let's say you want a faster run, let's say you want him to go faster to match, let's say the jump is more fast, you switch on this icon to scale and you do the same technique. You just put the mouse at the edge of the clip and just drag it left to make him go faster. See, if you zoom in, you will see that this clip now has times 1.2 scale, the duration scale. So it's actually playing 1.2 faster, so 20%. Okay? Think of it as there's less frames, that means it's gonna go faster. See? If I even go lower, he's gonna go even faster. See? He's like Speedy Gonzalez. So, and you can go the other way too. You can go slower. So if you go, let's say 0.8, is going to be slower. Why? Because you're adding more frames. Think of it like this. So more frames slower, less frames faster. Normally, try not to go over 20% more or less 20%, because then the animation starts to get weird. As it is now, like see here, it's barely passable in terms of quality. Okay, so that's the scale and loop or trim function. Be careful with it when you finish scaling. Turn it back on to the default, because you can easily start scaling by mistake. So just be careful with this if you do use it to scale. Okay, so I scaled it a little bit. Let's say 1.2, and I'm gonna put back the jump where it's supposed to be. Okay, so I'm gonna merge the landing. I'll save my scene first. Let's see what we got. Okay, good. We still got time. So I'm gonna merge the landing, falling to roll. You can just drag and drop it on the track. And let's see what we got. Okay, good. So we have all these frames to cut, right? Because we already have kind of the landing from here. So we want to use it as much as possible, okay? But let's say, okay, so we have two options. We can either keep the frames from our keyframe version. There's a couple of dead frames too here we can delete. So what I'm going to do, so this is the last frame of the clip. I make sure that I'm not on scale anymore, because if I keep at scale and drag this, I'm going to be scaling the duration. Okay, so I make sure I go back to default, which is the loop, and I grab the end of the clip and just drag it to where that frame is. So now I've deleted those empty frames because I don't need them. Otherwise I'm gonna get a hold like you just saw. Okay, so think I'll keep I'll keep my pose from the keyframe because it's nice, like the way she's landing with her feet. She's kind of pushing her feet forward because she's coming from a horizontal jump, while this one, it's coming from kind of a falling or vertical jump, okay? So I'll keep my keys. So I'll trim the first few frames here. I don't need them, okay? I'll trim it up to here, say. And then so I've deleted the, the in-air portion, and I'm just gonna use here, up to here. And then snap it to the previous clip. But again, we have the same problem. I'm gonna use the match hips. I'm gonna match to previous clip, translation, end of previous clip. Okay. So now it saves and moves this clip to match. But we see a little pop here, okay? So how do we fix this? So the next thing I want to show you is, we've learned so far about the clips, how to trim them, how to scale them, or change the timing of it. Now I want to show you how to match as well. I want to show you now how to blend these clips together. So there's two ways of blending. Think of blending like video editing. You can have like a fade in, fade out of each of these clips into each other. So there's two ways of blending. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see that you have these little yellow, once you put the mouse on them, these yellow corners here, they're kind of, you're blending transitions into and out of the clips, okay? So if you put your mouse on the top one, sorry, the bottom one, and you drag backwards, you can't drag forward because you're already in this clip, right? You're 100% into this clip. So if you select the bottom one of this clip, of the fall to roll, and you drag backwards, you're gonna get, see this green line? This green line continues to, it belongs to this clip. That means it's starting to blend from 0 values here to 100% of the first pose of this clip, okay? So I'll show you what that looks like, okay? So this is the first pose of this clip, okay? As you can see here, I'll take it out so you can see the difference. So right now, it's what you see here is 100% of this clip. If I take this transition of this clip, the land, and push it backwards, see, it's starting to kind of blend. 50% at this stage is 50% of this clip and 50% of the first pose of this clip. That's why you see these values change. So this is one way of blending, okay? And what we're actually blending is just the first pose into the previous clip. It's not great result. It's not bad actually, see? But I'll show you another way of blending. So instead of blending just the pose, you can blend the whole clip, which is multiple frames from this clip to the next clip. So you do this, okay? The difference is you're not blending the pose anymore. You're blending 1, 2, 3 poses into the previous clip. So I don't know if you saw the difference. The difference is a bit better because it's not just blending a pose, it's blending a frame. So you'll need to play around with this to get the best result. Either use blend of the frame into the previous, or you could just drag the whole clip backwards. Okay. So that's one way. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. As you can see, it snaps, right? So it snaps to the jump. So when I look at the jump here, it's kind of the right foot is in a passing position. So uh, I'm gonna try to blend just the pose to see how that looks. So I'm gonna blend the last pose of the run into the jump, okay, to see how that looks. So it's kind of holds that pose, which doesn't look very nice. So I'm gonna try to um, extend the clip into the run to see how that looks. Not not perfect, so I'm gonna try um, blending the jump into the run to see how that looks. Still not perfect, so maybe just one pose. It's not that great because he's switching feet. So I think what we can do is maybe just try, let's see, just one, we'll try that. Or maybe move the whole clip. Let's see how that looks. That's kind of better, but we're getting a lot of sliding, okay? So I think the motion is better, but as you can see, if you look at the hips, comparing to what we have here, see, he's kind of moving one, let's say 20 centimeters, but on the next frame he moves a lot, okay? She moves a lot. So what we can do to fix this is we can move this clip in space, okay? Just to get rid of that fast forward motion. So we select the clip, we make sure the ghost is on, and then we move on one axis, which is the Z. I don't want to move on the Z or the Y, so I just move it on the Z. Or you could have used the match. So let's try the match, but I want to match to the next clip because I don't want to move the last pose of the jump and move the run cycle to match it. Okay, so I'll switch it to match to next clip at the start of the next clip. See, it just popped a little bit just to see. Yeah, it's kind of a lot better. So what I did is I blended the run into the jump to kind of blend one frame actually. Okay, one frame instead of just taking the last pose and blending it. So it gives a way better result. So I want to move all the clips back because I moved the run to frame 1. I just want to move all of them back to 0. So I select all the clip and just nudge it back to 0. So it's from 0 to 89. I'll put the new number here. Or let's say if it was, there's a little trick here. You can right click and go frame start end, and it will take whatever you have here and it will set the timeline from 0 to 89 instead of typing. That's another option. It's okay, the foot is passing through here, but it's okay. At least think of story mode as your blocking stage with mocap to tell your story. Okay, all the other stuff that like passing through, we can fix that later. Okay, cool. So this is blending. I want to show you another cool way because we have a bit more time. Yeah, maybe I'll talk about it in the next 10 minutes. So again, if you look at it from front view, it's perfect because they're all moving on the same line. Again, you can use rotation to move things around. But the last thing I want to show you is, let's say you want to try things differently. Okay, let's say you're happy with this setup, but you're wondering about something else. Okay, and you don't want to create another FBX. The nice thing about these tracks, you can copy paste them, mute one of them, the one you don't want to touch, and play around with the other one. Okay, so you select the track in here, which selects has the content of all these clips, and you go Control C, Control V, copy paste. But you need to mute one of them to be able to edit this one. Okay, the reason is the changes that on the last track overwrites the top one, so you won't be able to see properly. So if you click just mute, okay, and now you can, if you edit this, see, edit the clips and the timeline, you have the changes. Okay, so let's say in your layout this jump gap is bigger. Okay, let's say there's a 3-meter jump gap. You want him to go further. So you want to take the jump and make him go further. Okay, so what do? You can take the clip of the jump, split it, move it, make him land, go further, and then blend the position of the new distance to the previous one. Okay, just like what we did with the blends here, same thing. Okay, so so let's say over here I want him to start going further. Let's say this section I want him to go further. Okay, so I can cut the jump clip here. The way to cut is use this tool called razor. Okay, you can go to the frame that you want to cut and click on this. It will actually take this clip and cut it in half, or whatever you have the timeline on it. Okay, so now we take this clip and the landing, because we don't want to touch the landing. The landing, we like it. And we make sure ghost is on, and we move him. We move him in space. We want him to go further. Okay? But now we have this huge pop. Okay? We need to blend the new position to the previous clip. Okay, so now we can try blending just the pose. So we take the end, the corner, and we blend it with the previous clip. So what do we get? We get the translation in there instead of that pop, see? Because the difference between this frame and this frame is huge, right? See how much he's moving here? And now he pops like a meter away. We don't want that. We want it to blend nicely. I'll show you the difference as I'm moving the transition, the blend. See? You can also play around with blending this one into the next one, so they kind of blend together. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So it's a little fast. We can definitely speed up this section, the landing, if you want. So we switch on the scale. It's gonna mess up the blend here, but we'll fix it. We'll fix it after. So we can take off the or move aside the landing because we want to scale the clip to be a little bit faster. Right now it's playing 1.4. Let's try it. And then we bring back the landing and see how that looks. Even the landing could be faster. So let's say you decide to speed up the landing. We cut here. We take this clip and we scale it as well and see what that gives us. See, everything flows a lot faster. So that's what you have to keep in mind for the flow. Everything, like you can't have a slow jog and then really fast jump and then a slow land. Everything has to flow. That's what I mean by flow. What I say here, flow of the overall motion. Please try to keep that in mind with your sequence. It has to keep momentum, keep the flow of the motion, no slowdowns, big slowdowns, or no big speed ups in the animation. So now you can compare, you know, like the previous one. If you mute it, unmute it, see? Or you can use, there's another one called solo. So if you, so right now it's playing the bottom one. It always plays what's on the bottom track. But if you click on solo, see, it plays now the top one, the previous one. If you click on solo here, now it's playing the new one. Okay, so so let's say you're happy with this sequence. The last step is to bake it on the control rig. Okay, I need you to be able to bake this whole sequence. It has to be on the control rig, otherwise you won't be able to edit it afterwards. Okay, so right now we're in story mode. We need to get out of story mode. We need to bake it on the control rig. I'm just updating the last frame because we removed or we scaled the landing here, so we have less frames. Okay, so we select one control rig, one piece, one body part, make sure we're in full body, and then we go character button, bake, control rig. Always choose the options Please make sure you're on take 2. Don't overwrite the jump just in case you need it for later. 30 FPS. Remove constant key reducer and plot. Okay. And if I deactivate now the story mode, you should be able to see the sequence. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't, I'll show you a small example. So what I did is I created a new take and I put back story mode just to show you if I deactivate and I don't see anything, that means I haven't baked on the control rig. So that's your test. Deactivate story mode, press play. If I don't see anything, you need to bake. I'll switch back to take 2 and play it again. So now now you can save and upload, and you can, what I meant by editing before is, so let's say you want to fix this foot. You don't have to for this assignment. For this assignment, I just need minimum 3 clips blended nicely together overall, and then baked on the control rig. But in able to edit on a layer, you have to bake on the control rig. That's why I want you guys to practice to bake on the control rig. So you bake and then you create a layer, and then you can now edit the motion. So let's say I don't want to touch the foot here. The foot is good. I just want to edit it here. I switch to body part. I create a key here. I edit this one. I bring it back a little bit to match what the other foot is doing, or the other frame is doing, previous frame. Then the next frame, I key 2. Now it's becoming overstretched because of that offset, so I click on 0 just to match what the base layer is doing. It's kind of sliding a little bit. It's okay. We can try to maybe just raise up the foot so that he leaves earlier. It's kind of stretching in here, so maybe we can relax the foot as well. It's okay. I'm having too much fun. There you go. Something like that. So see, I just fixed the foot sliding and passing through the file. I'll show you what it looks like on the base layer. If I mute the layer, see, all this has been fixed on that layer. So that's why we need to bake on the, I need you to understand, after story mode is done, you bake on the control rig and you export, you work on a layer to fix any issues. That's it. After you bake, save your scene, week 4, your name, and upload to Moodle, and you're done. Again, minimum 3 clips. If you want to challenge yourself more to have a longer sequence, go for it if you have a bit more time. But that's it. Cool, guys. I'll see you in class.